Look, I've told you, I'm not talking Brexit before we start recording. So we've done Marxism, trans fatty acids, and we've only... This the stuff you missed, dear listener, before we even hit record. We've done Marxism and we decided we prefer Groucho and Harpo to Carl. It should be Carlo, really, shouldn't it?
People are sitting there thinking, how can you go from Marxism to trans fatty acids in a
we
conversation?
We did it in five seconds. It wasn't even a big gear graunch, was it? I forgot myself. And she said, right, okay, what was I going to say? Yes, I'm Adrian. I nearly forgot my own name. I'm speaking to you. I'm speaking to you from the southeast of England on a very sober occasion of national importance. It is the comedy slab. We put comedy on a slab. His nibs, the other voice, is in the Midlands, hence the Brummy accent, like. Although it is more convincing than mine, of course, or should I say mine. Come in, please, Shane O'Connor.
I'm speaking to you from a pair of windy trousers.
You're taking the mickey out of my southern English accent.
In the Midlands. It always reminds me of that Peter Cook. Do you remember that Peter Cook theory? He's doing an impression of... who's I have in my hand a piece of paper. What's in that?
Neville Chamberlain.
Neville Chamberlain. He's doing the Neville Chamberlain impression, and he was trying to make out that he was quite forgetful. He said, "I've been to meet the Chancellor, here and there."
Probably a little bit tipsy as well in that person.
Oh,
Peter
brilliant.
Cook was fantastic, going up and down the. Particularly the English social scale, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Because he could do all that as well, couldn't he, Dad? You enjoying that sandwich?
All right. The thing I always think about Peter Cook is he brought out the best in other people, and I think Frankie Howard's finest stand-up hour was at Peter Cook's club, The Establishment. And
was it committed to tape or film?
It was, yeah. It was committed. I think it's an audio recording,
right?
Yeah, it's like Frankie Howard's talking about. He's talking about working for Peter Cook, and he said Peter Cook asked him. He said, "We want you to come and perform at Stabbers." He said, "That's what they call the establishment, Stabbers." He said, and I said, "Well, he said, I thought if I stuttered enough, he might mention money."
Very Frankie Howard.
It was just so good.
Anyway. Where can one acquire that? Because all our eager listeners might be thinking, as am I.
Do you know I've got it? And this is bizarre now because I've always had a great love of audio comedies. I think we mentioned before on the podcast, and I've got.
I thought you were going to say I've always been a bit light fingered when it comes to recordings.
And I went into Woolworths.
Help myself to a pick and mix.
I went into the Birmingham Central Library, into the record department, in a very big raincoat. I came out with the complete Hancock's half hour.
I think it was several hours from the look of your coat.
No, I've got that actually on a. I've digitally transferred it, but I think I've still got the original somewhere on cassette. And there were two. I was going out with a girl at the time whose dad smoked Panama cigars.
I'm wondering where this is going. This is like trans fatty acids and Marxism.
This is a true story. He smoked Panama cigars, and if you collect the vouchers from the packets, you have so many vouchers and sent them off, they sent you the Panama Comedy Classics, which was like a cassette. And it was on one of those cassettes.
Dummy.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't expect that answer.
Along with all the other classics like... was Hands Up Your Sticks. Do you remember that one? The Lance Percival and Kenneth Williams sketch where he says, "Hold up, this is a stick up. Hold up your hands and give me the money." Oh, I must get that right.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like rehearsing going into a bank robbery. And then he goes in and he gets it wrong. Give me your hands and hold up your money. And he's like...
Is it is Kenneth Williams leading, or is it pretty 50-50?
No, he's probably leading on that. He's the bank robber, and Lance Percival is the teller. And basically, he goes in there and he says he's like, he gets all confused, and then Lance Percival pressed the alarm, and he's going, "Go on, you silly man!" He said, "Get out! I don't want you to get caught." And Kenneth Williams goes, "Oh no, you don't." And then so the tables are turned. Then he goes, "Oh, here, I have some money." He goes, "Oh, thanks." And I think it's only like a minute and a half. It's a nice little sketch.
Sounds good. Talking of tables turning, that reminds me of two Ronnie's sketch where Ronnie Corbett plays the part of someone who has kidnapped Ronnie Barker's wife. Is that ringing any bells? And
yeah, go on.
He says, "Yeah, I might be thick, but I'm not stupid."
My dad always used to say that to me. He's
quoting that then, arguably. I don't know whether it's a George Wiley sketch, which is Any Fool Know, or lovers of comedy may know. Some of our listeners, it was Ronnie Barker's sort of nom de plume, assumed name to keep the source of his sketches a secret. But there's something about I will never tell you where I'm keeping your wife. I'm not going to tell. It's a complete secret. I will never tell you. And Ronnie Barker says, and what happens if I don't give you the ransom? He says, well, out she goes straight into the Catford sewage works. Brilliant,
isn't it?
So anyway, yes. Right, so there we are, reliving other people's sketches. I suppose we ought to try and do some original material, but of course, as ever, the Comedy Slab is based, again, on original material, but not by us. I don't mean the material is not original. We are putting it on the marble this week for a bit of incisive incision. That's tautological. We are reviewing Ed Reardon's Week, and this came from the beautifully named Blair Carlton, one of our listeners. He sounds like sort of he is a sort of it brings us back to politics, actually, because Blair was opposite David Cameron, and Cameron used to work for Carlton TV, so maybe that's a nom de plume. I don't know. Anyway, Blair Carlton, thank you very much for the suggestion.
More as I thought, what a great name for a sports car that'd be. What have you got? Oh, I've got a Blair Carlton. Oh, have you really? What, the straight 4 or the V6?
And it sounds like, you'd have to be wearing tweed, wouldn't you? And a lovely cloth cap. Very stylish name.
Cool name either way, isn't it, really? But
yeah.
But
I think he might have been a bit of a rake, raffish gentleman, played by Leslie Phillips, perhaps. Oh, hello.
Hello.
I used to have a Triumph Stag. Now I've got a Blair Carlton. I've moved up in the world.
Anyway, before he comes round and biffs you up the bracket.
Exactly. He might say, stop taking the rise, guys. The problem is, as we speak, it's about to evaporate off Shane's favourite app, which is BBC Sounds. So it's most recently been on BBC Radio 4, this show we're about to review. But I did notice, because it's almost certainly evaporated by the time you hear me say this, I thought I'd do what Shane normally does, which is a bit of homework, which is not normally in my nature. I'm sure he'll put this in the blurb attached to this very edition of the Comedy Slab. But it is available via Audible. If you're not already a member of Audible, you could have it as your first and possibly only freebie, because you can have a 30-day trial. So it's on audible.co.uk, certainly in the UK. And if you've already got an Audible subscription, I think it's, $11.99 a month or something like that. Oh, you're the man with one.
No, it's $6.99, I think it is at the moment.
Oh, maybe the price I've given is for a one-off download. I'm not sure. Anyway, it is there.
But I love them. I think they're awesome. I do. I mean, I must admit, I've got to go on and have a bit of a shopping spree, because I've built up 5 credits. And when you get to the only thing I don't like about them is when you get 6 credits, you get 1 credit a month for $6.99. And when you get 6 credits, if you don't use them, they wipe them off, which I think is a bit rubbish, really. I don't know why they do that, but there you go. But yeah, I mean, we're not paid by them, unfortunately. I mean, if you're listening Audible, we're more than happy for a bag of cash. In a carrier.
Stick them up. Give us the money.
I didn't want to think it's got to be in like a leather suitcase or anything. It can be just like in a Tesco bag or anything. We don't mind.
Could leave it in a hollowed out tree. That's my favourite place of choice.
Can you just post mine? Because I've got a bit of a chest and I don't want to go out in this weather.
That's if you trust the post as we head towards Christmas.
But yeah, I love them. I absolutely love them. I think they're fabulous, and always have audio books off them. I just can't get enough. I think but they do comedy as well. So grab hold of that. They don't do all the series, do they? Of
No, but there are other
Ed
ways.
Reardon.
I saw Series 1 is available as compact discs, as they used to call them on Radio 3.
My God, do they still make those things?
I believe they do, yes.
My
and
life.
I'm old-fashioned enough to have kept mine. Don't tell anyone. Ruin my reputation. Anyway, so we'll have 3 audio clips, whether or not you've ever heard Ed Reardon's Week before, but I should at least attempt to set the scene, which is that he is a writer, but let's just say he's not himself awash with cash, so he is inclined, as one would be, just to make ends meet, to do some extra jobs round the edges, shall we say, which is not quite 100% writing as we know it, Jim. It may be a bit of teaching, or he's actually studying this is Series 11. They're actually up to 13, but Series 11 has obviously been repeated recently on Radio 4 as we speak. That's BBC Radio 4, but it will pop up from time to time on BBC Radio 4 Extra. I think I actually wanted to put on the Slab something from Series 13, but as ever with me, I think something, and then the actual action follows the thought so late that certainly I missed the BBC Sounds window on that one. But it will come round again.
Didn't he, as a character, didn't he once have a bestseller in 1963 or something? Was it something like that?
It is something like that. The truth is, I'm trying to mug up to answer your question in real time, which is never a good thing, because being male, I can't multitask, which means reading and breathing and speaking at the same time is a bit off limits. He's got screen credits. He was an actor, wasn't he? So the character, the fictional character, Ed Reardon, was an actor. He appeared in a 1982 episode of the BBC wartime drama Tenko. The episode called "Escape from the Bamboo Noose." And he does. I think he reminds his pupils. It's coming back to me slowly. So I have heard sort of random episodes of this as I've been driving at various times. He does remind his students, his literary students, of his fame, or is it infamy? Infamy. Everyone's got an infamy.
All got an infamy
for the Tenko.
Was it Victoria Wood who said, she said it's all right, Tenko, but there's only so many sweaty women you can watch at one time?
That sounds like Victoria Wood. I was going to quote her when you said, what were you saying? There was, it was about your Audible thing. You only get 1 point a month. It reminded me, she was talking about, shall we say, women's issues. She said you get 1 egg a month, like the war. Anyway. We'll leave that there, hovering in midair.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, so there is a back plot, and people can study it, and it is, of course, on Wikipedia, and also you get a bit of background on the BBC website, so bbc.co.uk within the UK, bbc.com outside. So to set the scene on this particular occasion, well, I did talk about the extra jobs he's doing around the fringes of writing, and he is studying at the moment, or in this episode, it's the last in the series, in series 11. Did I say it was episode 6? I think it's 6 of 6. Anyway, this one's called The Fourth Sausage, rather memorably, and he is reduced, shall we say, to effectively being a sort of, I don't think he's being paid for this, a volunteer in a sort of a pop-up call centre, if you like, trying to raise funds for his college, and it is a Hertfordshire, one of the Hertfordshire universities. It might actually be a sort of, there are Hertfordshire universities, but this might, well, there is the University of Hertfordshire, but this might be a sort of fictional spin-off. And then his tutor comes along and wants to know how things are going as he's staffing the phones.
Ed!
Goodbye. Oh, hello, Antonia. Let me take my headset off. Oh, yeah, caught round my specs.
No, don't stop. I was just wondering how many you'd done.
Well, let's look at the list. One actual lead, you heard me talking to him. Declined, I'm afraid. None of the others were in, unfortunately.
How many have you called?
7, as you can see.
But you've been here half the morning.
Well, I did let it ring for a bit, They're probably in the middle of playing golf or bowls or whatever they do when they've got more money than sense.
Didn't you think to leave a warm, friendly voice message, as it says in step 4?
No, I didn't. I didn't do steps 2 and 3 either, where I hope they're having themselves a fabulous morning, despite or because of the weather having turned nippy/warm/foggy/unexpectedly wet, but the garden/allotment needed it, didn't we?
I'm not responsible for the script, Ed.
I know you're not, but the point is I'm not really cut out for this sort of thing, demanding money with weather-related menaces. I thought you were supposed to be conducting a seminar this morning.
Well, it's been put to me that unless we hit the phones, there might not be too many more seminars. And forget the new media lab.
Would the loss of that be such a bad thing? I only encourage people to make short films.
I did like that line. Demanding money with weather-related menaces?
Yeah, that was nice.
Which I thought was quite a clever little line. It's quite a good juxtaposition there, isn't it? Because he says it himself. I'm not cut out for this kind of thing. But he's of another generation, and he's struggling in the modern world. And B, he's a creative person who doesn't have any problem with language, and there he is sitting there trying to read through a script. And it's just kind of, I don't know. I thought it's kind of quite. It's very believable, isn't it, as a comedy? Really, I think.
I think so. Yes, but I think before we go any further, because I thought you were trying to do your impassive thing, a reminder or telling you for the first time if you're new to the Comedy Slab, we are hooked up, as 'twere, only a nice family-friendly way on Skype, and. I can see your reactions, but you try very hard. When I've set the homework, which is this very, well, effectively, it's Blair Carlson, formerly mentioned, who set the homework. But nominally, I was the sponsor for Blair and for this show. And you were trying not to give too much away, but I did see you smile. And I thought, okay, so, yeah. But your headline, your overall headline, because no, I'm not going to say what I thought you'd think. Let's hear what you did think of the show.
No, I was going to say I didn't want to give the wrong impression. Now, basically, I mean, you can see I'm looking off to the side here from like when I'm looking at you.
Beautiful profile.
I'm looking off kind of in profile.
I thought you were watching telly.
Well, Ideal World Channel have got a cordless vacuum blockbuster on this hour, and they're just demoing the bell tray, which I quite like. And he's just used it to clean one of the monitors in the TV studio. The hanging up monitor. Which
you could do with one of those.
Quite a feat, really. I do.
Who said men can't? It was me. Who said men can't multitask? It was me 5 minutes ago. But clearly, you're an exception, or you're not a man.
He's just vacuumed wow into a load of dirt, which is, I got, and that's what distracted my attention just a little bit from Ed Reardon's week. But I'm back in the room now.
I think you should turn off said telly so that I have your undivided attention.
I think I might have to be honest with you, because
go on.
For 88 quid, £5.99 postage.
Go on, get your credit card out, Grandad.
It's a head turner. Yeah, if through at the end of the next clip, if I'm going, yeah, have you got it in blue?
Does it really spell wow?
Yeah. Now, do I have to put dirt on my carpet and
the shape of the wow,
and suck wow out of it?
Anyway, to the matter in hand, if we may. Your headline, please. Your pithy summarisation. That's not the word I was looking for, but anyway, it'll do. Of how you feel about this particular show.
My headline would be, and I've just actually literally just thought of this on the spot. Ed Reardon has a slow week.
Okay, is it too slow for thee then?
Well, do you know, it's a weird one. This is. It's a strange one for me. I don't know. Did I mention last week? I don't think I'd ever heard an episode all the way through. This is the first time I've had listened to an episode all the way through.
Right.
And I've tried to, I kind of tried to listen to an episode and get all the way through, and for various reasons I haven't. But I do find it very slow. I do find it very pedestrian. But I'm not sure that's a bad thing. I don't hate it for that, and I don't dislike it for that, and I don't. It's not a criticism. That's just how I find it. Am I just kind of seeing it? Do you get that sense of it as well? It's got a very slow pace to it. There's not a lot happens in the episode really. There's a lot of words and a lot of talking, but not a lot. But like I say, I'm not sure that I'm being critical or saying it's a bad thing.
Well, do you know, I didn't notice because the words, it might be me and how I'm slowing down, but I did find it, I mean, it's not a shock to say a radio show is wordy, but it is particularly wordy. I wasn't. No, I suppose I knew it well enough not to be shocked that it's not. There's not too many car chases and bank robberies in it, with or without Kenneth Williams. It does tick along. But if anyone thinks from us saying that you can be caught off guard and just have it on in the background and hope to keep up with it, I find it's another show. I was trying to think of what did we say? There was a particularly wordy show. I mean, I know Bleak Expectations, which we've slabbed some weeks back.
I think Upstart Crow was a bit like that, wasn't it? Where you had to. Do you think you had to kind of?
Yeah, I mean, probably we could come up with quite a few shows, but I think if you opt out, sort of, and drift off, at one point in my second listen. I had to hit the rewind, probably more than once actually, and on one occasion I had gone off into La La Land, which, pleasant though it was, I wasn't doing my work properly for the comedy slam.
Yeah, I like I say, I'm not even sure. I mean, I find that quite annoying when I'm into what I call, and I know this is a very subjective thing, but what I call realistic dialogue, where. I'll sit with Angelina, my wife, and she watches Coronation Street, and I'll say, so and so wouldn't say that word. That character wouldn't say. They wouldn't know, that would not be in their lexicon. They would not know that word.
They wouldn't know the word lexicon, part
exactly, exactly. And it's that kind of thing. If somebody who they've tried to portray as a cheeky chappy but a little bit thick. All the way through, and then they use a word like, and you think, no, you've not got inside the character there. You don't understand what it is. So that kind of annoys me. And the other one is when sentences are over long, because you don't talk like that in real. They're almost like they're about 10 words too long, and you kind of think that that sentence. Do you ever get that where you think that sentence went on too long? That's not right.
Definitely, and very often it's me who's writing the darn thing, which is why you can always go. You can always go for another edit of your own work. But I thought, well, how is Shane going to, identify with this middle-aged, middle-class, curmudgeonly, old, creative... Oh, hang on.
Do you know, the weird thing is, I really liked him.
Did you?
How strange
Are you pulling
is that?
my leg, perchance?
I was as flabbergasted as you were that I related to. I felt sorry for him where I was supposed to. I thought he was funny where I was supposed to. I thought, good. What a lovely chap.
Now tell me what you really felt.
I did, honestly. I did. I
thought, did, right.
God, he's just like me, I thought.
Does that mean... that means either you're curmudgeonly, and you're as curmudgeonly as him, or perhaps he's not as curmudgeonly as I think he is, or that perhaps you're not as curmudgeonly as I think you are.
What was the middle one?
Sorry, that sentence was 10 words too long. Thereby proving my earlier point. I'll edit this at the edit.
I do love... I forget the guy's name now. He's written it and he stars in it. It was like Christopher Douglas.
Christopher Douglas, yeah. It's co-written it, isn't he? But yeah,
co-wrote it, yeah, with Andrew Nichols. But I mean, I do love him. I think he's fabulous. I think I don't know, I've not heard him do anything else, so it could be him, and that's why it's so realistic. But I thought his portrayal of Ed Reardon is bang on for me. He's like, the level that he's pitched it at. It's not too Victor Meldrew. It's not too overdone. He reminded me very much of, in terms of the way that he's pitched it. And I forget the actor's name. The guy who plays the first officer in Cabin Pressure, the cool guy, the one who not Dominic Cumberbatch, the other one.
Yes, it will come to be shortly.
It'll come to be sure. Yeah, but do you know what I mean?
Roger Allen, are we talking about? No.
Roger Allen, Roger Allen, yeah.
I'm a great fan of his. Yeah.
Who kind of, he always seems to get just like, he just pitches it just right, and I think Christopher Douglas does exactly that with this. I really do. Did you feel that with the character?
Yeah. Well, the real test for me is, while he was saying that, I was thinking, I cannot imagine anyone else in the role of Ed Reardon. It just couldn't happen. And for a further 5 trivia acting points, who's the common as it were. I don't mean in a nasty way. Who is the common link, the link between Cabin Pressure and Ed Reardon's, or certainly this particular one? I think she's a regular in it.
Oh, fine actress.
You're not allowed to look at your screen, by the way.
No, I'm only looking at the Cabin Pressure episode because I can never remember her name. She's been in Coronation Street as well, actually.
She is never far away.
She played Roy Cropper's mom in Coronation Street.
Stephanie Cole, we're talking about, yeah?
Stephanie Cole.
Yeah,
and also, there's another link as well, isn't there?
No, it's my turn to blank.
To Cabin Pressure and Ed Reardon's Week.
It's not Finnemore, is it?
No. It's the guy, the passenger that they were Mr. Burling.
Oh, on the episode of Cabin Pressure we slabbed.
Yeah, the one we slabbed, where he was the passenger that bought they had to buy the whiskey for.
That's not Jeffrey Whitehead, is it?
It is.
Is it?
Yeah,
wow.
It is. Yeah. I have to say as well, Jeffrey Whitehead playing in Ed Reardon's Week, playing the most common character ever.
I was fooled by Stephanie's accent as well. More working class than we're used to hearing her.
I wouldn't recognise her. I think I pride myself on being really good at recognising voices and things like that. But no, I wouldn't have picked her out in a crowd. There, it's incredible.
No.
But,
well, I think she's. I was going to say in danger of being, but no, I think she's already there. She is a national treasure, there's no higher praise, I think.
I said she's a national treasure. Where'd you dig her up from?
Hey!
So, should we have another clip? Is it high time?
It is indeed. How did you guess the phrase I was going to use? It is high time. So, I'm talking of Stephanie Cole. We're about to hear her as Olive. And I don't want to spoil all the gags here because this is a lovely concept here. What do I need to say? Very little, except is it going to be self-explanatory? I'll realise after I've played it, I think. But anyway, so this is clip number 2, and things move on. And I did want to give you some variety, dear listener, as to other members of the cast as well as Ed, who we're going to hear here. Oh yeah, Ed's doing a clear out from his agents, is it not? Ping and co. So he comes laden to a certain establishment which has changed its identity.
No doubt before asking you to fill in the "How did I do today?" customer satisfaction survey. What is happening to the world? What are you taking over in Tring?
Everything. Library, pool, theatre, all run by volunteers now.
Oh, theatre.
Don't think we'll be volunteering to put any of your plays on. Season of classics, that's what I've got in mind. Oh, Calcutta, let my people come.
And the full Monty at Christmas.
And the vagina monologues with a pre-show meal deal.
So that's the cultural life of the county taken care of. Why are they asking you to do it exactly?
Because we run a tight ship, that's why. We've had offers to take over elsewhere. Leighton Buzzard's sniffing around.
We've even had approaches from councils in the hard-pressed North East. I've got my eye on prisons and schools.
You see, I found that quite incredible, though, really. That with the Beldray cordless 2-in-1 vacuum, you actually get the accessory kit as well for 88 quid.
Hang on, are you on the phone or are you talking to me?
No, sorry, I was saying to you, but I just thought that was a good deal. Do you know, again, I mean, I really laughed at that bit when they were talking about, this army of pensioners running everything. Because that's how
this is the way the nation's going.
Yeah, with the libraries and everything. That's where it started, wasn't it? They're going, just give it to
enough
anybody.
to make you a Marxist, isn't it? But we won't go there.
Tell you, no, I don't know. But Marxists out of 10. Yeah. I just thought,
you've got a flipping Chico. You have.
It's tidy writing. It's on the whole a few bits. It's like a tidy cast.
Tidy.
I couldn't find a lot to fault it, Adrian, but I still can't. I'm still prevented from raving about it, and I don't know why.
Let me float a theory, because I think I'm in the same category.
Go on.
I mean, the world is a better place for it. We always say, and we always mean it, we love comedy, and we don't go out to knock something down for the sake of it. And who am I to gainsay something that's run for 13 series? For me, to say it's a little bit twee is probably, it ends up pointing the finger back at myself, because I mean, I got these references coming from Hertfordshire originally, so if I complain in quotes, that was Skype air quotes for the dear listener. If I complain, it's just a bit too on target for your typical Radio 4 listener. As a friend of mine said, and you might need to visualise this with your own hand, if you point the finger at someone, you've got 3 fingers pointing back at you. I'll just do that for Shane's benefit on Skype.
Yeah.
And although it's a bit tacky, that statement, it is also true. So, and then it turns out, of course, I am the, to a great degree, an embarrassing degree perhaps, I am in the pocket of the Radio 4 target audience. But that's not actually where I was going to start out, because that wouldn't, see, a lot of people accuse it, and with some justification, of being very London-centred or very South East England-centred, so, you know, guilty as charged on both counts there. But I think it's one of those shows, and I often, I think only in the last Slab, I was talking about something that wasn't quite the sum of its parts. And I think there's a bit of passion missing, or some emotional connection. It doesn't motor by its own momentum. It's sort of, you have to buy into it and concentrate hard. And it's not LOL. There's occasional chuckle, but it's not laugh out loud funny. And it would be nice if it was.
Let me draw a parallel. I hear what you're saying. I'm not
You're not
convinced.
agreeing.
Well,
you don't have to. You don't really don't have to.
I do a bit, and I don't a bit in a way. I mean, about there being the Radio 4 target audience, but although I do get a little bit sick and tired of this kind of belief in this country that if you know, you're a certain type of person, you only want to see you represented. That's the whole principle of diversity, isn't it? That people won't buy into something unless they see themselves in it, which is like saying I only watch things about fat, bald white men, which, you know, all right.
Fair dues, you do.
I've got a Bad Manners album, but that's about it. For me, I was trying to think, if you draw a parallel to something like, and only because it's a similar sort of setup, like Hancock, where Hancock really makes me laugh out loud. It really, really makes me, it really resonates with me. And I think it's, to me, I was trying to think, what's the difference between Ed Reardon and Hancock, is that whilst you see some of Reardon's foibles and idiosyncrasies and the downsides of his there's not a lot of that, is there? Like Hancock, you could laugh at him because he was ridiculous, he was pompous, he was overblown, he was self-opinionated, you know, he was all these different things individually and at once, and that created the comedy. But with Ed Reardon, I never really got the sense that he was very much the butt of the joke. Which
casts a new light, really, or expands the light into you saying you liked him. He's almost too likeable then.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah, there was nothing.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
You can't love to hate him,
or even you can't. There was no Schadenfreude. Was there? You know, you couldn't go. Oh, I knew that was. You know, I knew he was going to
get his
fall for that, or that was going to. You know, with Victor Meldrew, you kind of, which I know you're not a fan of, but. We should slab one of those one of the weeks just to hear
just to punish me,
to hear your thoughts out loud.
I would try and reset my brain on that, as I do with shows that I think I'm not going to enjoy. So I do try and clean the slate a bit. But
the way that's written is that he always ends up being, what's the phrase, always by his own petard. You know, he's gonna end up in that situation, and you know he's only got himself to blame because he should have just left it, but he couldn't. And I didn't get that sense with Ed Reardon at all.
He should have let it lie. I've got another theory why it's not LOL, and it comes back to the wordiness. Victoria Wood, one of the strings to her bow was being a stand-up act, and she said, I don't think she was claiming it as anything original. A comedian will know, if you get the rhythm wrong, you don't get the laugh that you could get if you got it right. And so you can dissect Victoria Wood scripts syllable by syllable and see where she's put the rhythms and where she ends. It's like a drummer going, you know.
Yeah.
And that's your punchline and that's your laugh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. We shouldn't be ignorant of the fact. We should draw attention to the fact, of course, there's no audience. There's no live studio audience here. I mean, how do you feel about that? Has that affected things for you in terms of the way you receive it, do you think?
Yeah, maybe.
Or the way it's written as well. I mean,
yeah, maybe the way it's performed, it'd be a very different show all round, wouldn't it? Really, if there was a live studio, that's a really good point. Actually, I never really thought, and of course with Hancock there was.
Yeah,
you know, so maybe that's part of the thing. Talking about the production and the way that it's put together, let me ask you one, because I thought it's funny, isn't it? You say you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, I wonder how Shane will react to that, and I listen to it and I think, oh, I wonder what Adrian will make of that. They've got this, and it's only because you and I have had conversations for people who've just come into the Comedy Slab for the first time. Amongst our many and varied jobs in TV and radio between us, Adrian, for his sins, was a sound man on many a program and many a comedy program as well. And we're both lovers of sound, aren't we? And you know, sound sculpture and texture and the way things are put together and all that sort of stuff. But they've got this technique where they have one person on the mic and one person off the mic when they're having a conversation. Did you notice that? And then it wasn't always the Ed Reardon character that was on mic.
I didn't notice it as a consistent throughout. There certainly were times when I thought, that's we call it sound perspective, of course, in the trade, and
that's what they're trying to achieve, isn't it? They're trying to achieve this. So
that's something. That's something you can. Sorry, finish your point. I
was just going to say that's something that if you were listening to a conversation, you would hear one voice closer to you and one slightly further away, and that's what they're trying to achieve. But I just wonder what you thought of that as a way of doing a radio show.
Well, I'm processing that thought in real time. One thing, while I'm trying to work out my answer, I will say it's easier to do that when you don't have a live studio audience, because it gets closer to the condition. I'm sounding like the pretentious Woody Allen character in Annie Hall. I think there hasn't been photography hasn't been around long enough for an aesthetic to develop. He's trying to chat up this girl and show off how brainy he is, which raises his own questions. Why am I trying to impress you, Shane? Let's park that thought. But anyway, yeah.
Is it because you think I might have a brand new 2-in-1
combine
vacuum
harvester?
soon?
Oh yeah. Well, but yes, it's all about status, isn't it? And I look up to your superior vacuum cleaning potential. So we wouldn't be talking about that. It would be less likely we'd be talking about that if there was a studio audience, because it would be sort of flatter. So it's getting closer to sounding like a drama where you sort of accentuate those perspectives.
Yeah.
Does it work? It didn't upset me unduly. I didn't think it was exaggerated. There were one or two oddities. There was a bit of a jolt at one point. His former acting partner, we'll get onto this as we go into the third and final clip in just a sec. His sometime acting partner is Jaz, isn't it? Pops his head out the window at one point to look for something. And slightly odd, a bit of a jolt there I felt, but that's me being pernickety, canickety, cup of tea. Anyway, it's neither here nor there really in the scheme of things. Didn't worry me too much. But yeah, well, if you know you're not playing to a studio audience, that does of course affect the way you write. And coming back to the Victoria Wood, the rhythms and so on. So, and I noticed that when I was cutting the clips. That I didn't have much room for edit points, and I thought, why? That made me realise just how dense it is. I couldn't fade anything because there was barely a gap between one word and the next scene. The first word for the next scene. So that speaks to the sort of density of it. But I mean, it's high quality, high caliber stuff. So I wouldn't knock it from high production values point of view.
I do wonder as well how much it suffers or benefits, I really don't know, from Christopher Douglas being, as you pointed out, a co-writer and being the star of the show as well.
I haven't got the distance from it, do you think? Or?
Yeah, whether that becomes, whether that's at the point where you say, actually, what you need to do is now have a script editor who will cut the dead wood or sharpen it or, you know, or soften it or whatever you need to do with it. Because that, I mean, I suppose he's co-writer. I mean, I suppose Andrew Nichols provides that perspective, maybe.
Yeah. Have you done your research on Mr. Nichols? I suddenly realise I haven't.
No, I didn't. I mean, I kind of have just a quick squint just to see whether they've done anything else and what they've done. I mean, as I recall, I think the both of them. I mean, if you can imagine 12 series, most of their successful work in life has been taken up with Ed Reardon's Week.
Indeed, yeah.
And one other program, I can't remember the other program that Andrew Nichols wrote for in the early years, but I think again he was only just a contributing writer rather than an actual writer. But yeah, I mean, it's such is the amount that they've written. It's been pretty much their life's work so far, hasn't it? I would have thought. Yeah,
which is why I hope they're paid handsomely, a good percentage for the sales of CDs rather, and so on.
I do wonder whether that kind of is difficult though, to be you're the main character and you're one of the main writers as well. Whether you know you can step back enough from it and get enough fresh perspective from it all. Yeah. That is always going to be a difficulty, but I think that's where the producer has a role, and they've got to be fantastically diplomatic, but at the same time they've got to produce the best show they can. Yeah. Andrew Nichols, just quickly looked him up as we've been speaking. He reviews DVDs for the oldie, and occasionally has a rant, it says here, with a capital R, so I'm assuming that's maybe a column or a sort of one-off or occasional pieces for the oldie, which, as the name implies, is for mature readers. But yeah, as it says here, I mean, as you were saying, pretty much is a large chunk of his working life has been wrapped up with Ed Reardon. Right, so on to the third and final clip. Now, just as a scene set, did you get the reference? Because there's a running theme in this particular episode of The Fourth Sausage. Well, the reference of the title is to something that Ed Reardon, our man, has done in his previous life as an actor, which has gained an afterlife in, of all places, Belgium. Walloonians sort of wetting themselves over, and also it turns out was it hen parties apparently going there until Cardiff became the destination of choice. But did you get a reference? Do you know what kind of parallel? I'm pretty sure I'm right on this one. A parallel with something that's hugely popular in Germany, and a sketch in English that it barely flickers the needles in this country. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know, something rings a distant bell. Go on, tell me.
It gets dusted off around this time of year. Every Christmas, they wet themselves over. I think it's called the Butler Sketch. Certainly there is a butler in it. And the joke is, and I'm afraid it doesn't, I mean, maybe I smile begrudgingly, but it's basically this butler getting more and more drunk as he serves a lone woman at a very long table. She's obviously to the manner born. And it's like you're pudding milady kind of thing, but he's falling over himself, and it's a bit slapsticky. If anyone in Germany thinks that is English humour, heaven help us all, is all I can say.
You're right.
It is English humour, but not any I want to sign up to.
Don't be alarmed, it's not as good as that normally.
Well, give me Venninghane any day. But, OK, to the third and final clip. So there is a reference here to Sir Jasper's Lunch. I cannot but believe that is a sort of Mickey take of The Butler, or whatever this sketch is called, that goes down a storm each Noel. What more do I need to say about it to set the scene? Probably not an awful lot. Oh, they're talking about sort of reissuing it. So it's a business proposition now. Just think how much money Ed Reardon and Jaz, his co-actor and co-editors and all of that, could raise, and Ping, his rather annoyingly voiced agent. So here we go. They're all discussing what they can do with this crusty old sketch.
Ed, think what it'd be like rubbing shoulders at Pinewood with the actor playing your part, mentoring his sausage-dropping technique.
Or hers, Ping. Watch that everyday sexism, sweetheart.
Sorry.
I'd protect your interest, Dad. As associate producer, I'd make it my job to look after the screenwriter.
No, I'm washing my hands of this. I'm a university student engaged in serious research into, well, point is, this may be a hard concept for you to grasp in view of the quicksands of mediocrity that not a few of you in this room have willfully led me over the years, but that's all behind me now. I'm afraid the groves of academe are calling Ed Reardon home, while the rest of you stagger about the blasted heath of half-baked sophomoric so-called humour.
But what about Sir Jasper's breakfast?
You can do what you like with it, providing you buy me out.
Okay.
It'll need to be more than that.
No, can you get me some bubble gum out of the machine? Make yourself useful while I do your contract.
You're going to regret this, Ed. I've already got Corden, Gervais and Carr Snapchatting my ear off.
I'm disappointed in you, Dad.
Yeah, you'll get used to that. Now, where did I put my Ant-Man pen?
He was another afraid of a challenge when push came to shove.
Sorry, I'll have to take this. It's from the real world.
Jaz Milvane, played by the fabulous Philip Jackson as well, he's been in so many things, hasn't he? He's just a wonderful character actor. I was just looking at his biog, some of the stuff he's been, everything from Agatha Christie stuff to, I think he started in theatre and did Waiting for Godot, and he's amazing. I think he's fabulous. He's one of those, his face, and then you kind of think, I'm not really sure of his name.
Gosh, well, I have to admit to being in the category of ignorance. I'll have to swat up on him. See, I thought it was going to be one of those weeks on the slab, and it is a significant birthday again. It is the big 7-0, so we really ought to retire, but we're going to carry on. Just do another tour. There are weeks when you start picking holes in the script and say, oh, this is overwritten, and they wouldn't say that, as you were alluding to earlier.
Yeah.
And describing things in words, because it's radio, that you think they might not need to describe, or they don't describe in the, it's like, look out, he's got a gun, Vicar. Take off your dog collar so he doesn't know who you are. Yeah. That sort of thing. But I think because you've warmed to the character, you're letting some stuff pass that I think you might seize on in another more curmudgeonly week, if I may say so.
I do have this curious relationship with it that I have no desire to go out and listen to any more episodes.
Sorry, that was me slip.
I'm sorry,
get that bit out. Well, I've got to leave it in now.
I think you should leave it in. I think it's disgusting.
Well, I'll do it again then. Hang on. Sorry, what we said. Look, you were watching a vacuum cleaner, and don't get superior with me. Watching
so now you know.
Shopping Channel.
When you're listening to this podcast, now you know why he says, and there we have to leave it. It's not because the digital equipment won't run past that time. It's not because we're time limited by what we can upload. It's just simply because he's run out of gin and tonic and he has to go and dash off for a refill. That's all it is. I have got this curious relationship with the whole thing. I don't really know why.
What do you mean though? The sort of love-hate relationship, or love, too much love, or
I just don't. Despite its faults, I don't seem to mind it. I've not fallen in love with it. Like I say, I've got no desire to rush off and listen to any of the previous 10 series.
You're sounding like me. But would you at least try another one or two, do you think?
I don't know. I don't think I would, really. There's too much more dynamic stuff out there that I would want to go and listen to or watch rather than. I don't know.
But you might be in the mood for something less dynamic one day.
Yeah, I I find it really difficult. I have a really difficult relationship with it, and I find it really difficult to explain why and you're right, you know, in other podcasts, I'd have said, well, that's ridiculous. He wouldn't say that, or he wouldn't say this or whatever. But I kind of give him a pass on it because, well, I don't know really. Other than it just didn't trouble me. It didn't, you know, it was very neutral. I was very neutral. I felt very neutral about the whole thing, I think is the best way to describe it. I mean, you must get that. You said more or less the same. You've kind of felt, you know, that it's not going to set the world on fire, and yet it's not the worst thing you've ever heard.
I would be a bit more flattering towards it because I really respect the quality of the writing and performances and some great English character actors, British character actors. And certainly, I mean, this doesn't say, you know, this might be damning with faint praise. If it's ever on, when I switch the radio on, I will stick with it. But yeah, I'm a bit like you, but this is a bit me anyway, isn't it? Not seeking it out and sitting down and wanting to binge listen. Tends not to be my style anyway. I'm not sure whether it's a draw for me that it references places that I know very well. I mean, he's based in Berkhamsted, or as we used to call it when we were in the cheap seats in Watford, we call it Burko. So that's how affectionate we were towards, towns up the A41, which even gets a mention at one point.
See, in Birmingham, we call it Berkhamsted.
Do you?
Yeah. So make of that what you will.
I'm not sure what to make of it. But the thing is that's a push me pull you thing for me, because that comes back to the tweeness. You know, it's a bit too close to home. It's like I wouldn't sit down, and I don't think I'd write loads of local names to me. I don't know. Maybe that's a lie, but it's all a bit too close to home. Like, it needs some distance.
They say you should, though, don't they? They say you should write what you know about.
They do say that, yeah. But what do they know? Do they know about what they know?
I don't know.
I don't know. No, exactly. We're all ignorant. Anyway, it has to be high time. I tell you what I really want to know is what Blair Carlton previously referred to, who chose this very show to Slab, for us to Slab, what he makes of it. So you can get back in touch, Blair, at Comedy Slab on Twitter, which is how he got in touch in the first place.
Yeah, tweet us your score, Blair, out of 5. Can I go first?
Of course you can. You've never asked before, have you? You usually ping it back to me. Oh. Use the character name Ping.
Talking about Ping, really irritated that.
But she's meant to be, isn't she?
Oh, but just
she's done her job. Her work is done.
Just unbelievable. Really stuck out like a sore thumb. I thought the whole Ping thing. The
Ping thing.
I don't know. Anyway, simple for me this week. 2.5, straight down the middle.
Okay.
It neither impressed nor offended. I give it I must admit, I kind of, when you've got people like Stephanie Cole and Jeffrey Whitehead in the cast, you know, and Philip Jackson, you do kind of think it would give you a 3, 3.5, or a 4's worth of score, but hey ho, you know, you can't be on your A game all the while. So 2.5 for me. Okay,
well, I'm going for 3.5 because I do feel I have to acknowledge those high production values, and because I'm not as mean as you.
Well, that's without doubt.
But actually, the funny thing is, you are this week where I was last week, more sort of emotionally flatlining, and I gave last week's show, which you felt very strongly against, but I gave it 2.5. So maybe we're just out of sync by 1 week. Everything but the kitchen out of sync. Leave it there.
All right. Homework for next week?
Yeah, high time.
I don't want to give too much away.
Sorry. Just before we do that, I've got to get my pen and opening my book where I'm going to write. I can't even find the pen. It reminds me, I should have said it's a BBC Studios production. So sorry to interrupt.
It's all right. See, that's what happens if he finishes his gin and tonic before the end of the podcast. He can't find his pen, doesn't know what day of the week it is, and goes wandering off around the room.
Tuesday, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to choose something that I know very little about. It's just
that doesn't narrow it down.
Yeah, that's true. We're just seeing Series 2 hit the airwaves, or whatever BBC 3 passes for airwaves these days, since it ceased to be a proper television
You're sounding
channel.
like Ed Reardon, of course, the curmudgeonly old technophobe. Yeah, carry on.
See, so I'm not a technophobe. I just think it's just like, what's the point of having it if it's like weird anyway? But yeah, so
Well,
BBC
you're about
Three.
to illustrate the point of having it because we can still watch stuff on it.
Well, no, not really, because it's not. It's really just a kind of an empty vessel in order to produce this for. I mean, it didn't actually produce it, but it actually delivers it for us. But I think we could get it in other methods because it's an RTE production. It's an Irish program,
right?
Radio Television Era. For those who don't know, it goes out on RTE2. I think it's made by RTE2 as well. And
that's not to be confused with R2D2.
No, that's something completely different. In the second series currently, but we're going to go for Series 1, Episode 1, and it is a programme called, and I don't know whether we're going to get on with this or whether we're not going to get on with it. I think it's a real roll of the dice, this one, so it'd be interesting to see what we make of it next week. It's a programme called The Young Offenders. That's The Young
Offenders. On the old laser display board.
Yes. So that's next week's homework.
Right. Oh, you haven't said which episode, series?
Series 1, Episode 1.
Sorry, did you say that? Right.
I did. It's the gin and tonic. Yeah.
Calling myself a writer, I can't find a pen, or at least I can find a pen, but I'm actually having to etch it into the paper because the ink's run out.
I'll email it.
Yeah. I blame, again, the G&T, as you would.
Yeah.
Super duper. Well, I've already mentioned at Comedy Slab, we're hoping the illustrious Blair Carlton's going to get back with his score out of 5. Looking forward to that. I'm intrigued, actually. I think it's going to be above Shane's figure, but hey, people can always surprise. And yes, feel free to use Twitter, as Blair did, to suggest other shows for us to slab. We can't guarantee it, but we'll do our best to try and satisfy your cravings, although it didn't work with me and my now estranged wife. Moving swiftly on, we're at... Where did that come from?
I don't know.
I think it came from this glass.
Don't listen, it's the gin and tonic talking.
The Gin and Tonic Hour on the Comedy Slab. We are also at Comedy Slab on Facebook, so please like that page, follow us on Twitter, pass the word on, recommend to people in the Library Wellness Centre and anywhere else you may have your being.
And yeah, don't forget you can catch us on all the previous episodes as well. Of the Comedy Slab. We're on YouTube, which is a handy way to find us, and you can leave comments there as well. Try and keep them keen if you possibly can, but you don't have to. And also we're on Stitcher and Spreaker and iHeartRadio and what's the green one? Hang on,
you haven't mentioned YouTube.
Spotify, that's it. So I do it by I do it by the icon. That's how I remember him in my head. What's the green one? What's the red one? YouTube. Okay. Yeah, and lots of other places, well, including Apple Podcasts. So from the Comedy Slab, thank you very much for listening and for being with us. Next time, we'll be looking at The Young Offenders. And until that time, I personally will be off to go and sit by my letterbox and wait for my Beldray cordless vacuum to arrive with accessory kit.
Wow, you didn't mention that, I don't think. And I will be an accessory to this crime. And I'm going back on the phones to try and raise money for the Comedy Slab. It's so demeaning. Do you know who I am?